Section 65 of the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, translated by Courtney Langdon. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Purgatorio, Canto 31. Terrestrial Paradise. Dante's Confession. His Immersion in Lethe. Beatrice Unveiled.
O thou that art across the sacred stream!
Toward me directing with its point her speech, which even edgewise had seemed sharp to me. Continuing, she began without delay.
Say, if this be true, to such a charge must thy confession be united now.
My strength was so confounded that my voice began to move, and wholly died away, ere by its organs it had been released. A while she bore it. Then,
What thinkest thou?
she said,
Reply, for thy sad memories are not extinguished by the water yet.
Perplexity and fear together mixed extorted such a yes from out my mouth that eyes to hear its utterance were required. Even as a crossbow breaks its cord and bow, whenever with too great attention shot, and with less force the arrow strikes its mark, so 'neath that heavy burden I broke down, and as I poured forth gushing tears and sighs, my voice more slowly through its passage came. Then she,
Across the paths which I desired, in which were leading thee to love the good, beyond which there is nothing one can wish, what trenches didst thou find, or hindering chains, for which thou thus must needs despoil thyself of hope of further progress on thy way? What luring charms or what advantages displayed themselves upon the brows of others, that thou shouldst pay thy passing court to them?
Thereat, when I had heaved a bitter sigh, I scarcely had the voice to make an answer, and painfully my lips gave form to it. Weeping, I said, Things of the present turned with their delusive joy my steps aside, as soon as e'er your face was hid from me.
Hadst thou been silent, or hadst thou denied,
said she,
what thou confessest, no less clear would be thy guilt, since known by such a judge. But when self-accusation of one's sin from one's own cheek breaks forth, in this our court the wheel is turned to blunt the sharpened edge. And yet, that for thy fault thou mayst be now the more ashamed, and that when thou again shalt hear the sirens thou mayst stronger be, desist thou now from sowing tears, and hark! So shalt thou hear o'er what a different path my buried body should have moved thy feet. Nature ne'er showed thee, nor did art, such beauty as did the pleasing members which enclosed me, and which are scattered now, dissolved in earth. Hence, if the highest pleasure failed thee thus by reason of my death, what mortal thing should afterward have drawn thee to desire it? At the first arrow of deceitful things, thou surely oughtest to have risen up to follow me, who was no longer such. Thy wings, at least, should not have been weighed down to wait for further blows from some young girl or other vain thing of as brief a use. A young bird waits for 2 blows or for 3, but for the eyes of fully feathered birds a net is spread or arrow shot in vain.
As children who are silent when ashamed, and with their eyes upon the ground keep listening, and conscience-stricken and repentant are, so I remained, and she,
Since thou art grieved because of hearing me, lift up thy beard, and thou from seeing shalt receive more grief.
With less resistance is a sturdy oak uprooted, either by our native wind, or by the wind that blows from Java's land, than I at her behest raised up my chin. And when by beard she asked to see my face, I well perceived the venom in her words. Thereafter, when my face was raised again, I saw that those first creatures were at rest from strewing flowers. And thereupon mine eyes, which were as yet but partially assured, saw Beatrice turned toward the animal which in 2 natures one sole person is. Though 'neath her veil, and cross the stream, it seemed to me that she surpassed her old-time self, more than she did all others when on earth. So pricked me now the nettle of repentance, that of all other things what turned me most unto its love became to me most hostile. Whereat such great contrition gnawed my heart, that overcome I fell, and what I then became she knows who gave me cause for it. Then when my heart restored my outward strength, I saw the lady I found alone, above me, saying,
Hold on to me! Hold on to me!
Into the stream she had already borne me up to my neck, and dragging me behind her, light as a shuttle o'er its top was moving. When I was near the blessed shore, I heard,
Purge me with hyssop,
said in tones so sweet that far from writing I cannot recall it. The lovely lady, stretching out her arms, embraced my head, and plunged me in the stream so far that I was forced to drink its water. Drawing me thence, she set me, when thus bathed, within the dance ring of the lovely four, and each of them embraced me with her arm.
Nymphs are we here, and in the sky are stars.
Ere Beatrice came down into the world, we were ordained to be her maids.
We'll lead thee to see her eyes.
But for the joyous light, there in the three upon the other side, who more profoundly gaze, will sharpen thine.
Thus singing they began, and thereupon they led me with them to the griffin's breast, where, turning toward us, Beatrice remained. And,
See to it that thou spare not thine eyes.
they said,
Before the emeralds we have set thee, whence love of old against thee drew his shafts.
1,000 wishes hotter far than flames bound mine eyes fast to those resplendent eyes, which on the griffin set their steady gaze. As in a glass the sun, not otherwise the twofold animal was gleaming in them, at first in one, then in another way. Think, reader, if I wondered when I saw that it was keeping quiet in itself, while in its image it was changing form. While, glad and with amazement filled, my soul was tasting of the food which, while it sates, still causes thirst and hunger for itself. Proving themselves to be of higher rank by reason of their deeds, the other three came dancing to their angel roundelay.
Turn thou,
Their song was,
turn thou, Beatrice, thy holy eyes upon thy faithful one.
Who hath, to see thee, ta'en so many steps.
Kindly do us the favour to unveil thy mouth to him,
that he may thus perceive the second loveliness which thou dost hide.
O splendour of eternal living light, who 'neath Parnassus's shades e'er grew so pale, or from its cistern e'er so deeply drank, as not to feel bewildered in his mind, should he attempt to paint what thou didst seem, when, symbolized by heaven's own harmonies, thou didst reveal thee in the open air.
End of Purgatorio, Canto 31.